the most exciting stage of your English journey is definitely C2. It is the highest level you can achieve. And this is where your English starts to feel like freedom because you can express yourself freely, naturally, precisely. You no longer feel those barriers. It's not just about the words, but also the subtleties. You can understand humor, nuance, and so on. But at the same time, C2 is very specific. This level is quite different from the previous levels, and this is something I would like to talk about today. How it works and how you can approach this effectively. So if you'd like to reach this level or pass the C2 level exam, watch this episode till the end to get my personal best tips. I'm Eva, or call me Eva, and I'm a qualified English teacher, also a non-native speaker of English. I have actually never lived long-term in an English-speaking country, and yet I managed to get to a C2 level, and I passed the CP exam a few years ago. And for a short time, I even worked for a Cambridge exam center that was based in Switzerland, so that also helped me understand the process a little more. I'm not saying this to brag. I just want you to know that you're listening to someone who has been through this journey, who has some experience. Today, I'm going to delve into 5 areas or 5 points that you should bear in mind if you're on your way to C2 or thinking about the exam. Let's start off with the most frequent question, number 1, and that's how long does it take? It's a very common question, and yes, it's very individual. There are a lot of factors, but generally speaking, Cambridge gives us some rough numbers. You can look at this chart. If you're at around, let's say, FCE, B2 level, you've been through like 500, 600 hours. That's not that bad because if you think of, traditional school and you have, 3 or 4 times English 4 times a week, so you get more than 100 hours per year, so that's fine. But if you want to get to the C2, you can see it's 1,000 or even more hours. So I don't want to put you off. I don't want this to look a little scary, but I just want you to have realistic expectations that this is going to take time. Again, there are a lot of factors, but most probably some patience is required as well. The second point is, again, a question. How is C2 different from the other levels? So first of all, at lower levels like B1, B2, your main focus is getting your message across, like communication. You want people to understand you. You want to understand people. You use everyday vocabulary, basic grammar. There could be mistakes, inaccuracies, and so on, and that's fine. But at C2, expectations change completely. The vocabulary is very specific, and it's not something you come across every day. For example, it could be a little academic, formal, or very topic-specific. Words like mitigation, detrimental, meticulous. This vocabulary is part of the English language, but it's something that you don't see every single day. And that's why you need to actively look for them, for this kind of vocabulary, to get this different exposure, practice this. So you intentionally want to be exposed to very advanced or specific language. And this is not going to come naturally, like just by watching Netflix. So remember that you need to be more focused, more intentional, and to use resources that are designed for your level. The third problem that can often arise at also C1 or C2 is the difference between active and passive English skills. Because at this level, your passive skills, like passively understanding movies or podcasts or reading, that's fine. That can be really, really good. But that doesn't mean your brain is actively ready to produce this kind of language. So to truly function at a C2 level, you need to activate your English. So you need to focus on active skills like speaking, to actively speak, to write, or even to actively practice some vocabulary. Don't underestimate the power of English exercises. For example, I even have this advanced workbook on my website you might have seen before. So it's full of exercises that really trigger your brain, that try to help you come up actively with some language aspects. Because otherwise, this is where a lot of learners might get stuck. They think that, yeah, I'm pretty good, I understand. But if they don't take certain steps, it is going to be still around the same. Like they will still just use the same vocabulary or the same structures. So if you want to level it up, you need to look intentionally again at these active skills more. So seek situations where you must use English actively and think about the language more than just passively receiving the language. Now I'd like to touch on number 4, and that is a very common misconception. So people sometimes think that C2 automatically means that you pass the CPE exam easily. And that's not really true. So now I'll also briefly talk about the exam because I know a lot of you might want to achieve this, I don't know, to either have it on your CV or to work academically, or I don't know, it could be required when it comes to some managerial positions. There could be lots of reasons. Maybe let me know what your reason is if you intend to pass this exam. So you can be really good at English, but the exam is a specific format. It has its own expectations, requirements, tasks, there's timings and time limit. And to pass, you need strong language skills. And at the same time, you need to get to know the exam format. You need to get used to the exercises, time management, structure. You need to be able to write an essay. So make sure that you prepare well. So these are, for example, some of the books that I use with my students to prepare for the exam. And also in the description of this video below, you can find the link to the official Cambridge website where you can find all the details about the exam, sample tests, everything you should know. So this is not sponsored, so just some general information and my personal tips. And now the last area, number 5, it's my personal tips that worked for me that could help you, but just please remember everybody's different. What was a game changer for me was something called shadowing. I did this even before I knew it could be a real technique. And I did this as a teenager. I used to watch Friends, this TV show. I loved it. And what I did, I was so interested in the language. So I looked for the script of the episode. I printed it out. And as I was watching that, I maybe highlighted some words that I found interesting. And then I tried to imitate, for example, Rachel, this Jennifer Aniston's character. So I tried to speak like her, use the intonation and pronunciation and so on. And then when I came to university to study English and we had phonetics and phonology classes, we were actually, it was compulsory to do something like this. We had to imitate native speakers to pass phonetics and phonology and to do exactly this in front of the class. It's a little awkward. You also need to record yourself. So I definitely recommend recording yourself. When you hear yourself, you might hear some imperfections better to, again, get a different perspective on your language. And it will even give you more confidence when you go through some lines over and over again, pronouncing them. You will remember those structures. And you can also improve your pronunciation a lot. Another personal tip is keep a system of what you're doing. Because as you can see, it's a long run. It's not a sprint. And you might get lost if you don't have a system. So keep a notebook or a digital file to keep track of your vocabulary. I definitely recommend the Quizlet app. I've been using it for years, and even now with my students. Keep track of what you've been doing, how often, and so on, because this will help you keep the consistency you really need for your progress. Also, sometimes you might feel like, oh, am I getting somewhere or not? So when you look at, for example, the number of vocabulary, the words, or the things you have done, and when you have some physical proof, it might even feel more encouraging or motivating to see that there are some results, because everything is so abstract at this level. So it's nice to also see, oh my God, yeah, I did a lot of stuff. I know a lot of stuff. So it could be a little motivating or encouraging. And what also helps is booking a slot in your calendar, because we're also busy. Our schedules are packed. But if you, Monday morning, 9 a.m., if you put this English, either a class or just self-study, but it's there in your calendar, you're more likely to stick to it. because it's in there, you can see it. So again, it can help you with a little bit of more discipline. And I've also heard from other students that it helps. And my biggest tip, that might sound like a cliche, but I really mean it, is everybody's journey is different. So you need to get to know yourself as a learner, like who you are, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, when do I learn best, morning, evening, what keeps me motivated, which areas do I avoid and why. And honestly, the higher you go in English, the more specific your learning needs are. So for example, at this level, because if you're a beginner and you start a course, so you have usually the same starting point as people around you in the class. But at this level, you've been through so much, so you might have some gaps, and now they could be holding you back. You might have learned something the wrong way, maybe some pronunciation things or some habits or some words. For example, the word colleague, I think I used to pronounce it. The stress was just off. I think I used to say something like colleague when I was pretty advanced. So I get feedback from a native speaker. So that was good. So it's colleague. So it's about polishing your language. Or for example, someone might be really good at speaking, but not that good at writing. So what you need to learn might be completely different from what someone else might need at this level. I really personally believe in self-directed or self-governed learning. It's about that intrinsic motivation. It's not about someone always telling you do this and do that, like a traditional school, 45 minutes, you do this, then you have to, learn this. I really believe in becoming more independent, more self-aware. I actually did my diploma thesis on this, like something that is just very close to it, autonomy. That's one of the keys to success. And that doesn't mean you need to do everything alone. That's not it. You should, of course, ask for feedback, for help, to have a teacher, tutor, class, whatever. But the direction should come from you. So please let me know what your goals are. Are you working towards C2? Are you planning to pass the exam? Or would you like to share your previous experience? Do you have some experience with C2? We'd love to see that. I'd love to read that in the comments. So feel free to share. I wanted to bring up these things. I believe I find them very useful, but there could be other things, so feel free to add something more. If you found this video useful, I would be really, really grateful if you could share, like, subscribe, or even if you want to get more advanced English in the future, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on anything. So thank you for being here, and I really hope this also helps you speak beautiful English.